Welcome, Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion by VaYeishev. We continue with the fourth reading. All right. Interesting story that we spoke about by Torah studies beginning of the week. And this is after selling off Yosef. We take a brief tangent. I mean, nothing's tangential in the Torah, but in the narrative, so to speak. Okay, we are in chapter 38, verse number 1. And it was at that time, Yehuda, and Yehuda went down, Me'es Echav, from his brothers, Vayet, and he like kind of pitched this. Vayet means like he set up camp. Ad Ish, Ad Ish Adulmi, with a man from Adulmi, Ushmei Chira, and his name was Chira. They made a partnership. Let's see Rashi in verse number 1. It was at that time. Why is this juxtaposed at this point, this story? In other words, interrupting the narrative of the story of Yosef, right? So Yosef was just told down to Egypt. Now we're interrupting with this. That's to teach you that Yehuda, who was in a position of leadership till this point, was brought down. His brothers brought him down from his greatness. How so? When they saw the distress of their father, Omru, they said to Yehuda, you told us, Yehuda, that we should sell him. If you would have told us to return him to Yaakov, not, in other words, do no harm to him, right? If you would have told us, we would have listened to you. Right. It's interesting how they're putting the blame on him. Okay, I mean, he has a leadership role. That's true. That is true. But still, they wanted to kill him. He's the one who said, don't kill him. Let's just sell him off. So just interesting. Vayet, and he turned away Meisecha from his brothers. Adisha Adulmi, until the man of Adulmi, the Shatafima, he became a partner with him. Okay. Verse number 2, V'yar Sham Yehuda, and Yehuda saw there Bas Ish Kanani, the daughter of a man who's a Canaanite. Actually, Rashi is going to say a merchant. Ushma Shua, and his name was Shua V'kacheha V'yavoyaleha, and he took the daughter of Shua, married her, and had relations with her. Rashi Kanani Tagra, a merchant, Betahar, and she conceived a Talid and gave birth Ben to a son, V'yikra my heir, and he called him heir, the first son. Betar Oid, then she conceived again further. Mateled, and she gave birth Ben to a son, V'tikra Shmai, and she called his name Einan. V'teisefed, and she added further, V'teled, and gave birth. Actually, interesting, doesn't hear it say that she conceived, it's just that she gave birth. V'teled Ben, and she gave birth to a son, V'tikra Shmai, and she called his name V'tikra, and she. First child, Yehuda gave the name. Second one, she gave the name. And the third one, she also gave the name. Vatikra Shema, and she called his name Shelah. V'haya b'chsi belidata oitzai. And she was in Ksi, Chaziv is the name of a place, right? When she gave birth to him. Rashi in number 5. Haya b'chziv, she was in. It was in Chaziv. Shem Malcolm. Shem Malcolm. This is the name of a place. But Emirani and I say Al Shem Shepaskim Aledis. So Rashi's first saying that it's the name of a place, but he's saying it's because she stopped to give birth. Nikra Ksiv, that's why she's called a Ksiv. Lashon Hayya see Hayya see Loikamay Achsod. It's related to the word that you are like my failing spring. So meaning the word Ksiv means a failing, meaning that she failed further to give birth. Lo Yichaziv Meimav, that the water should not fail. Right, giving another example of where we see the word meaning to fail. Even like Cain. And if it's not so, if it doesn't allude to the fact that she stopped giving birth, what is this coming to tell us? Yeah, in other words, what do we need to know the name of the place? We don't need to know the name of the place. So it must be coming to tell us that she stopped from giving birth. VaYeishev Rabba I saw on the VaYeishev Rabba V'tikra Shmai Shelah, and she called his name Shelah. Shelah means pasakas, that she stopped, meaning stopped giving birth. Okay, interesting. 3 different explanations. Okay. V'yikach Yehuda Isha Le'er B'chayrei, and he took Yehuda, a woman, meaning a wife, Le'er for Er B'chayrei, his firstborn, Ushma Tamar, and her name is Tamar. Okay, who he took for a wife. Vahi Er B'chor Yehuda, and Er was the firstborn of Yehuda. Rab Ein Hashem, he was evil in the eyes of God. V'yimesehu Hashem, and God killed him, and made him die. V'yimesehu, it's more like okay, made him die. He was evil in his eyes. Rashi, Rab Ein Hashem, Be'ros Shaloinan, like the evil of Einan. Mashchi Zara, what does that mean? The evil that he would destroy his seed. Shenemar ba'Einan, as it says. Einan is the second, right? Child born. So Rashi saying he's evil in the eyes of Hashem. What does that mean? So Rashi says, like the evil of the second son, Einan. What did Einan do? Mashchis Zara, he would destroy his seed. Shenemar ba'Einan, as we will see shortly, it will say by Einan, B'yamas gam oisai, and he caused him to die also. He also implies, Kimisasa Shaler, he died like the death of Er. Misasa Shaleinan, the death of Einan, right? Meaning that they died for the same reason. Why would Er destroy his seed? Because he didn't want Tamar to become pregnant. And she should spoil her beauty. So he would waste his seed. Okay? Now, why Rashi says this over here and not in the next? Because over here we don't know that he wasted seed. All we know that he's evil in the eyes of God. right? But we're going to see, um, not this verse, but the following verse, what Onan did, the second son, right? And that he wasted seed. And we deducing it, but why Rashi's explaining it here? It's a good question. Yemer Yehuda, and Yehuda said Onan to the second son Onan, right? The first one died. Go and have relations with the wife of your brother, and do the Levirate marriage, right? That means the brother that passed away without having children, right? The other brothers are obliged, the next in line are obliged to marry. That's a Levirate, or Yivum, as it's called in Hebrew. And you will produce seed for your brother. Rashi, Malkim Zera, you produce seed, offspring. Haben Yikra al Shem Ames, because the son will be called after the dead brother. He passed away. Right. So verse number 9, Vieda Einan, and Einan knew he loy hazera, that he knew that not to him would be the seed. In other words, by having relations, the offspring would not be considered his, even though he's the one who's having the child, but it's going to be in the name of his brother. So it was when he came and had relations with the wife of his brother, the Shiches Arza, and he destroyed to the ground, meaning his seed, referring to his seed. Levilti Notsan Zer Le'alchiv, to not give the seed to his brother, meaning the offspring to his brother, right? That's what does that mean? So Rashi's Shiches Arza, what does it mean he wasted seed to the ground? Dash b'bifnim, v'zera mibachutz, meaning he threshed the inside, but later he would not ejaculate inside, he would ejaculate outside, so therefore she would not be able to become pregnant. That was an old version of no, what's it called? Birth control. Yes, exactly. So what do you think happened? Vayera be'enei Hashem. Asher also, and this was evil in the eyes of God, that which he did. The Yamas, and he died. Gam oisai, him also. So it's from the him also that we know that the first son, did the same thing. Remember, we said that he was evil in the eyes of God, but it didn't say what he did. Only by the second son it says. But the fact that it says here, Gam oisai, him too, right? Meaning him too, he died for the same reason. That clear? Right? That's what we learned in Rashi earlier. Why Rashi doesn't explain that here? We need to understand. Because it's only over here that we know that the first son, the firstborn, did the same sin. 11. Yehuda, and Yehuda said Samar to Tamar, Kalasa, his daughter-in-law, Shvi, remain almana beis avich, as a widow in your father's home. That was, go home, right? She was living with her second husband who died. Says to her, go home. Ad yigdal Shela, until the third son, Shela, is going to grow up. Bini, my son. Ki amar pen yamuz. Why did he say this? Because he had a concern. Two wives die to the same woman. So he thought, Ki amar pen yamuz, that perhaps he will die, gamhu, him too. Ke'achav, like his brothers. V'telach Tamar, so Tamar, he didn't say that to her. This was his thoughts, right? And that's why he told her to go home, to her father's home. Telach Tamar, and Tamar went, VaYeishev, and she dwelt, Veisavia, in her father's home. 11. Yeah, we're good. Okay. He Amar. He said, Kalaimar, in other words, Deichaya, he said, Bikash, he would push her away like straw. In other words, he found a pretext to brush her away her request. Shalaya Badaita, because he had no intention, Laisi Aloi, that Tamar should marry the third son, Shelah. He Amar Pen Yamus, because he said maybe he's also going to die. Muchzekis Hizu. This Tamar is established already. Shiamusa and Anshel that her husbands will die. And it's, two times it happened. We ain't taking a third chance, right? Okay. Verse number 12, continuing the story. Here the plot thickens. And these the next couple of verses are what we was the foundation of our Torah studies Sunday night. If you didn't get a chance to hear it, you can go on YouTube and get the class. Yamim, and the days passed, many days passed. Shua, and she died, the daughter of Shua, Ashes Yehuda, the wife of Yehuda, Veinachem Yehuda, and Yehuda was consoled. Vial was consoled. Vial al Goizezei and he went up. Right, that was our question, going up. Right, al Goizezei for the shearing of his flock. Who him together with his partner Chira, Re'ehu, his friend, Hadolomi, who's an Adulmite, Timnasa, towards Timnah. Vial kol gezitzeinai, vial Timnasa lamed, al gezitzeinai, they went up to Timnah to supervise over the shearing of the flock. Yugad Tamar, and it was told to Tamar, Lamor saying, Hine, behold, Chamich, your father-in-law, Eila is ascending Timnasa to Timnah Ligaisena to shear his flock. Rashi, and this was the Rashi that we dealt with, right? We had many questions, which we won't go into now. Timnasa coming up to Timnah, Kishimshin, who I met, like concerning Shimshin, it says, VaYeishev Shimshin Timnasa, that Shimshin went down to Timnah. And so, are you going up to Timnah or do you go down to Timnah? Seems to be a contradiction. Can be Shipua, Yeshiva. So the answer is the resolution is that Timnah was situated on mid slope, not on the top, not on right, not on the bottom, but mid slope. So on one side you would go up on foot to the mountain, up the mountain. But on the other side, if you're on the top of the mountain, you'd be going down to go to Timnah. We have many questions over here. The Tal said, "Big day al Munasa." She took off the clothing of her of being a widow, mi'aleha from upon her, b'techas b'tzeif, and she covered herself with a tzeif, a veil, b'tis alaf, and she wrapped herself, but meaning with I guess like a the wrap of something. Teisha b'pesach and she sat at the crossroads. And she sat at the crossroads. Also on the path to go up to Timnah. Because why'd she do this? Because she saw that he grew up, Shelah, the third son grew up. And to her was not given him as a wife. She was not given to him as a wife, right? In other words, Yehuda didn't call her and say, okay, my son grew up. Now it's time for you to marry my third son. No, he didn't do that. Rashi, if these all of the kisses upon now, how she covered her face, so the Akira, the people shouldn't recognize her, right? Next Rashi in 14, Vatesha Pesach Hayinaim. She sat at the crossroads, literally at the entrance of eyes. The Psichas Hayinaim, the opening of eyes. The Parshas Derochim at the crossroads. Shalder Timnasa on the way to Timna. So I guess just like eyes, you have two eyes, so there's a point over here where you can, I guess, go in different directions. Rabbeinu Darshu. So the sages, they, because it's not a usual term, so they understand the meaning in an expounded manner. It was at the entrance of the tent of their father, of our father Avram. That all eyes were eagerly wanted to see him. Whoa. Hmm. I mean, Avram had passed away already, right? So I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means literally that she was at the entrance of the tent of Avram, or where he put up his tent, and she was there. Yeah. Um, and she did that because she wanted, to marry into the family. And even though she was married and she's a widow though at this point, um, yeah. So what does it mean that she sat at the eyes? The eyes is like, the eyes of the congregation, or like the leaders of the congregation. So by referring to Avraham, that's what I understand. Okay. Next Rashi in 14. Kirasa Kigalo Shela. She saw that Shela had grown up. Lefikach Kira Atma Eitzel Yehuda. So she saw him growing up, and Yehuda's not offering him that she should be a wife to him. So this is why she made herself available to Yehuda. Because she desired to have children from Avraham, which means through Yehuda, she had strong desire to have children. Okay. So she wanted to bear children because she was a holy person who knew that her children will be the progenitors of King David and ultimately Mashiach. Vayireha Yehuda, and he saw her Yehuda. V'yachashveha, and he thought of her Lezoina to be a prostitute. Why? Kikisas up and out because she covered her face. That's interesting. What tells us, right? People who do that, why are they doing that? Even though they're doing it for the opposite reason, but back in the day, covering your face in such a way, you don't want people to know that it's you because of the way you're acting, which is what's happening today. In other words, you can say that all those people that are covering their face in such a way, they're prostituting themselves. So that's, my my thought. But the difference is she did it for holy reasons. Okay. Rashi b'Yachashvel Zayna, and he thought of her to be a harlot. Lefi sheyeshevet parashas drachim. Interesting, because she was sitting at the crossroads. Uh-huh. So actually, the way the commentaries explain Rashi is interesting that covering her face was not the sign of being a prostitute. That's actually a sign of modesty. So what's the sign of prostitution? Is it because she's sitting at the crossroads? Oh, a woman doesn't do that, right? When she is sitting there, it's like you're waiting for someone who's coming along, who's doing the traveling, it's men on business and whatnot. That's exactly what Yehuda, he was going on business, right? To watch over his crops, his flock rather, being sheared. So, that you're doing that means you're making yourself available. That's what it means. So, the verse says that she kisses up and out because she covered her face. The way I read the verse, Rashi's learning it differently, which we need some understanding on that, right? Because she covered her face. That seems to be the reason why he thought of her to be a harlot, a prostitute. Rashi says, Lo yachal liroisa, he was unable to see her, la'akira, and to recognize her. Not that that was a reason to, that's not a sign of prostitution. It's sitting in a place like that. That's a midrash. Rabbi saying, and our sages interpret in a midrashic way. He sees the penal that she covered her face means geshahais bebase of chamia. That when she was in her father-in-law's house, haisatznua, she was very modest. Therefore, Yehuda did not suspect Tamar of being a harlot. Okay, 16. And he turned towards her on the path, and he said, Hava na avai, um, uh, and he said, with her consent, I prepare yourself, avai alayich, and I'll come upon you. Ki lo yada ki kalasi. He didn't know that it was his daughter-in-law. Tamer, and she said, Ma titenli, what are you going to give me? Ki savai alai. Oh, what's going to be my payment? Rashi v'yeta aleha ala derech. So he turned to her on the road, miderech shahayaba, from the road that which he had been upon. Nata, he turned ala derech asher hiba, on the road that she was on. In Old French, distorner. Havanov, prepare yourself, please. Hacheni atzmach v'daitei, prepare yourself and frame your mind, lakach, for this. Koloshin, Havaloshin, Hazmanahu. The word hava in Torah means a preparation. Chutz mimakom sheyesh l'targum v'beloshin nesina, except in places where you could translate it to mean an expression of giving. Even those, this is what it means. Hava means preparing. Even Loshin is sina. It's close to the meaning of giving. 17. So he said, I will ashalach send gedi izim, a kid goat, minatzin, from my flock, v'temer. Okay, she said, im titen, if you will give a ravine, a pledge, al ashalacha, until you will send it. Now he didn't have any kid goat that he could give. He wasn't walking with that. So she's asking, okay, give me a pledge. In other words, give me a mashkein, that will be a security, a pledge then I know that you're going to fulfill what you're saying. And he said, what is the pledge or the security that I should give to you? And she said, your seal, silecha, your um means your signet ring, right? Which you make, that you sign with, right? Sil lecha, and your cloak, matcha, and your staff, asher biyadecha, that are in your hands, right? I'll take that, v'iten law, and he gave it to her. B'yava elaha, and he came upon her, v'tahar loy, and she conceived to him, for him. Rashi v'chamoischa b'psilcha. Rashi. So the signet ring and a wrap, this, right, this a wrap or a string. Targum Onkelos says iskoscha v'shushavcha. Your ring that you seal documents with, and your garment that you cover yourself with, right? The Tara, and she conceived for him, mighty ones like him, tzaddikim boy, and righteous one like him. Look at that. Such as an act, and it's called righteous. Okay, we're not going to go into that now. The talk, and he got up and he left. And he took off her veil, rather, talk. She arose v'telach, and she left. I'm sorry. And she took off her veil, from upon her, v'til bash bigdei munasa, and she wore her widow's garb. V'yishlach Yehuda is Gedia Yitzim, and Yehuda fulfilled, his pledge. He gave, right? He sent the goat kid, Biyadreo, in the hands of his friend Hadulami, who's the Adolmi Chira, right? The Isha, to take the pledge, the security, from the hand of the woman. But he wasn't able to find her. And he asked the men of the place, Lamor, saying, Ayeh Hakadesha. Where is the prostitute? She was at the crossroads, on the pathway. And they said, that there was not any prostitute here. Kadesha, and this is news. What does it mean, Kadesha? It comes from the Kadesh, which means holy, right? Means designated, prepared for prostitution. Yashev el Yehuda, and he returned to Yehuda v'yomer, and he said, Lo siha, I didn't find her. Gama anshe hamakim, and also the men of the place, Amru, they said, Lo yaisa b'zekadesha, that there was not a prostitute there. V'yomer Yehuda, so v'tikachla, and let her keep it, meaning the security that he gave, pen nia labuz, unless we become disgraced. Behold, I have sent this goat. And you didn't find her, so I had to let her keep what I gave her. Rashi in verse 23. We got a truck over here. The Tikachlan took and let her take for herself. Yeah, Shalama Shibiyada, let the possession remain hers. Pen Yelabus, lest we become a disgrace. If you're going to ask again anymore, Yisparsim Adavar, the thing will become publicized via the Ganai, and it will be a disgrace. What more can I do? Right? It's Devarai to abide by my words. I gave my word, and What more can I do? And see that I have sent this goat. Lama the fish Rima Yehuda is Avi, because Yehuda deceived his father Bigdi Izim with the young goat. She built Sainus Yosef B'damai. Yeah, in whose blood he dipped Joseph his tunic, Gamhu, so he was deceived too, but Big Deizim with the young goat. Psh, amazing. Shalish Chadashim, and it was about 3 months. V'yugad Yehuda, and it was told to Yehuda, Lamor, saying, Zonsa Tamar. Tamar, she was unfaithful. Kalasecha, your daughter-in-law, V'gam hine hara, and not only that, but she's also conceived Znunim in a lascivious manner. Yehuda said, I see of this, sorry. Bring her forth, and she needs to be burned. Burn meaning like taking something burning as a death sentence. Let's see what's going on here. Ooh, the plot thickens. Chadashim, a tripling of months literally means Ruba al Rishon, greater portion of the first month of pregnancy, Ruba al Achrin, greater portion of the last month of the trimester, V'emtzai Shalim, an entire middle month. That's what it means, right? Loshin kishalish chadash. That's the expression, means like 3. When there's 3, kehashalish chadashim. Right. In other words, half of 2 months. So it's not full 3 months. Kamai mishloach manais, like sending gifts, mishloach yodam, and tegam mulkalis. Mislosus yerachai. Hara liz nunim, pregnant. Um, yeah. Yeah, Harala is a nunim. She's pregnant by harlotry. Shame davar. This is a an adjective, muberes, that she's pregnant. Kama isha hara, like a pregnant woman. Right. Kama barakachama. Okay. Visi sarif. She should be burned. Uy. Amar Ephraim maksha mishum Reb Meir. So Ephraim maksha says in the name of Reb Meir in the Talmud, Ita shal shem shahisa kayin. She was a daughter of Shem, who was a kayin. The fika danu b'sreifa. That's what she judged by uh, burned to death. Again, burned to death doesn't mean literally burned to death. It means taking a potion, right? And that's something unique that only a daughter of a kohen in the Torah we learned in Deuteronomy that has that punishment for illicit relations, right? About a married woman. Because remember, she's married. She even though she's a widow, but is she is Zokuk, she's necessitated for Shelah, the third son. Yehuda didn't want to give. By the way, that's why it fell on him then. That's why there was nothing wrong in what they did. In the technical sense, and even more than technical sense. Because since Yehuda didn't want to give his son, so then it fell upon him, the Levirate marriage. On her part, for sure. But Yehuda doesn't know what's going on in this story right now, right? Now he's going to find out. So that's why he says she's a daughter of a Kohen, so therefore If it would not be daughter of a Kohen, so then it would be the death sentence would be strangulation. Now, I'm not clear on how this works because that's only with witnesses, right? That you get a death sentence. There weren't witnesses to this. So what does it mean? I'm not clear. 25. He mutzas. She was brought out. Vihi shalcha. Um, right, in other words, for her punishment. Vihi shalcha el chamia. And she sent to her father-in-law, Lamor, saying, leish, to the man, asher ela, that these things belong to, loy, that are to him, anechi hara, that's who I'm conceived by. V'temer haken, no lemia chaysemes of psilim, v'hamata ela. So she added, who is the signet ring and the staff and the cloak belong to? Acknowledge, right? Rashi. And she didn't look at, well, Rashi's going to point out. It's pretty awesome what's going on over here. She's being taken out, Lisodov, to be burned, right? He shalcha es chamia. She sent word to her father-in-law, why, just come and say plainly, I'm pregnant from you. Right? Which then, by the way, there would be no punishment. And not only that, she did it only for the sake of heaven. So she did not want to wish to embarrass him. So that's why she presented in such a way. She didn't want to say, I'm pregnant from you. That would have turned heads, right? She didn't do that. Ella, rather, she said, to the man whose these things belong to. Amra, she said to herself, if he will admit on his own, let him admit. If not, Yisrafuni, so I'll be burnt. Again, not literally burnt, but the potion that's burning. Wow. Now I'll be in pun of, but I will not embarrass him. You can't Amr from here the sages say, it's preferable for a person, keep he throw himself into a fiery furnace, but let him not make his friend become embarrassed publicly. Wow. You get a sense that she's pretty righteous, huh? Even though the whole story sounds like a little crazy. 26. Yaakov Yehuda and Yehuda recognized V'yemer, and he said, Tzadka mimene. She is correct from me, by me. In other words, Tzadka mimeni. It's from me. Ki al kein l'setia l'shela. I did not give her to Shelah, B'ni, my son, v'lo Yosef, oy l'daita, and he didn't know, he was never intimate with her again. Rashi, Tzadka, b'dvarei, she's correct in her words, she's righteous in her words. Mimeni, from me, he moved better, she's pregnant from me. Correct. Our sages expounded to imply over here that a heavenly voice came out of Amra and said, from my very self, did these matters emerge. It was I, in other words, God is saying, "Is I that brought it about Tamar to be conceived by Yehuda." She was modest, the base of Chamia, in her father-in-law's home after the second husband passed away. Oinen, right? I decreed because of her righteousness, the kings should come forth from her. And from the tribe of Yehuda, right? Because this is Yehuda who had, we'll see, twins from Yehuda, Gezarti Lami Malachim Yisrael, that I decreed the king should come and be established for the Jewish people. Wow. So another, wow, unreal. Cain loy nasatiha, inasmuch I didn't give her, kibedin also says she acted correctly. Allah shela nasid l'shela benin, as much as I did not give her Shela, my son. In other words, for her to go and sit in the crossroads and wait for Yehuda, she acted correctly. Why? Because he didn't give Shela, the third son. And there was a decree in heaven that from her, the Jewish kings will come out. Unreal. And as much I did not give her. That's her. We did that. Yeah. He didn't continue to become intimate with her anymore. There's say, he did not continue. Means that he did not continue. Those that say, like Pasuk, he didn't stop. As in other words, he didn't continue more, but not less. I think. I'm not clear.
When did he have relations with her only once?
According to that opinion, yes. Well, she became pregnant, right? The words related to Gabriel Yasu, did not stop. Okay, 27. Let's quickly finish, okay? Quickly. P-base there was time to give birth, and midwife saw that she had twins in her, and to give birth. With Rivka, it says that her term to bear grew full. Above by Rivka, it says she also had twins, right? That she gave birth in full months. But here it was diminished months, and she gave birth after 7 months, because it's written over easily at the time. By Rivka, it says in the full days of her, in other words, that her days were full when she gave birth. So from here we understand that here it wasn't. Behold, they were twins. Mole, it's written full spelling. It's lacking the letter Aleph. Because by Rivka she had one that was wicked, Esav, right? But these two that she gave birth to, they were both righteous. And it was the time she gave birth, and he took a hand, the baby's hand stuck out. And the midwife took a piece of string, and tied it around his wrist. Shani, the Belema are saying this, you have to be sure that this is the one that came out first. This is one that came out for Rashi, Be'itin Yod, and he put out a hand. One of the twins put out his hand first, and others not his head. Right? That's why she did this. So she tied a crimson thread on his hand, and he took back his hand. Usually you come out head first. He put out his hand first. Right? 29, but he it was when he returned his hand, and what came out was his brother, the Tamer, and she said, why did you have such vigor and push yourself ahead? So Yehuda named him Peretz. Right? You exerted yourself, right? You exerted yourself. Verse number 30, the last verse. After his brother came out, Shani. So came out the head of the second one, and she called him Zarach, shining. Rashi in 30, that was on the crimson wool. Remember, he returned his hand, right? The word yad is written 4 times here. Corresponding to the 4 bands. Mal Ochan Mimenu, that Ochan who descended from him violated. Remember those who say that the 4 times it says hand, the word yad over here, Keneged Arba Dvorim, is for 4 things. Shalakach Ochan took the spoils of Jericho, Eldar Shinar and Babylon cloak, Shtei chatika is kesef, and 2 pieces of silver. Shomasar shkolim, and 200 shkolim. Lashon zov, and a gold ingot. Okay, v'yikra Shema Zarach, and he called them Zarach, literally meaning brightness. Al Shem Zrichas Maris Hashani, because of the brightness, the appearance of the crimson thread. Okay, we got to go to Tanya. Amazing. See you in a few moments.